Okay, welcome to the Creatives Roundtable. I'm your host, Nancy Bruzzo. For those of you who are new here, the Creatives Roundtable is an accountability group and creative community that meets monthly in online groups of 6 people to help you with the business side of your creative business by breaking your goals into bite-sized tasks that are manageable, talking through hot topics, and getting feedback from one another. Registration will open November 15th for 2021. We have accountability groups as well as Facebook and Slack community, although Facebook will be going away at the end of June. This is where conversations take place about work events, questions and answers like what color are your office walls, what printer do you recommend, how do you make animated GIF, or I'm too busy, is anyone have time for this job? Once a month, we have these CR60 events with special speakers that are free to our group members, 50% off for our Facebook and Slack members. Coming up in December, we have Elise Benin on What the Hell Was 2020. In January, we have Emily Cohn on Positioning and Specialization. February, Pivoting to Your Future Strengths. March, LinkedIn Strategy for Winning a Business. April, Why You Need a Genuine Personality Brand. May, How TikTok and short form video can elevate your business, and that's with Emma, who's here today. And June, 3 steps to uncomplicate your marketing and attract more dream customers. Jess Macta is the founder of MACTA Works. She's an operations guru who has collaborated with small businesses, creative service firms, and nonprofits for over 20 years. She thrives on getting into the weeds of her clients' businesses to create and implement less stressful, more efficient workflows through all facets of an organization. I first met Jess at a Fly Female Founders event. I was very impressed and was able to book her that year for Fly Female Founders, which was a great success. And we are finally able to have her here today. This will be interactive. Please keep your videos on if possible and participate. Jess, you can take it away.
All right, well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Nancy. Hello to everyone, and good morning, good afternoon. Yes, let us start. My name is Jess Macta, and my company is called MACTA Works. Hello. Who am I? Well, I am a solopreneur. As Nancy said, I've been in business for over 20 years. I help small businesses, creative services, and nonprofits with workflow, planning, administrative, and operational concerns. And I support teams really to empower small businesses and entrepreneurs to focus on the things you do best. So what I'd like to start with is the concept that the business of your business is in fact serious business. I said that backwards, the business of running your business. But anyway, the point is, I don't know if you remember the commercial for Peak Greens. Peak Greens are a very serious cookie. Does anyone remember that? Anyone? You could put in the chat, yes, maybe. You have no idea. There's someone singing to you at 12:30 in the afternoon. Oh, Christine, you don't know it. I'm so sorry. You should look it up on YouTube. It's very entertaining. But the point is that running your business is not necessarily why you all went into business. Is that true? Did you all go into business to run your business or because you wanted to do something that you loved? You can pop that in the chat and we can talk about that. Both. Nancy, you're an anomaly. I feel like a lot of people start their business because they really love doing something, and then they realize that they have to run a business to succeed. So first, I want to check in with everyone. It's a little bit maybe atypical, maybe it's typical now with so many Zoom meetings, but I'd like to ask everyone to just sort of sit up straight in your chair, put your feet on the floor, maybe close your eyes or just lower your gaze for a minute and take a deep breath and feel your feet touching the floor, feel your bum touching the seat, check in with your breath and check in with the day. And think about the concerns that you have with your business. And if you can think about the things that keep you up at night and think about them being in a balloon and just sort of floating away for a minute and feeling that lightness, That's what we want to get to with understanding our business. So if you want to come back to me and our chat, I think that it's important. It seems that from where I sit, we've been in a real collective holding pattern since March. At least that's the way it feels to me, wondering when the pandemic would get under control, when we could safely see our family and friends, when we would know who would be leading the country next. And, you know, those uncertainties and pressures affect everyone, both subliminally and consciously. So I'd like you to, out of passion, but love to learn the process, started to design, but realized I love marketing and business, some parts, it's true. So drop into the chat a word about how you've been feeling over the last 6 months in terms of your business, or maybe not. It's just your whole personality, you know, your whole being. Have you been just business as usual? Have you been exhausted like Kara? Productive is amazing, Yamilka. Amazing. Mazel tov, as we say in New Jersey. Frustrated, frazzled, overwhelmed. Yep, it's true. So I'm glad that some of you have been able to be productive. There's definitely been a lot of ups and downs. So what we want to talk about is, in order to reset for 2021 and to close out the year, one of the things we need to do is acknowledge where we are, where we've been, and where we want to go. So operations is simply the details of this overarching moment. So in your business, your operations is the backbone of your conversation. You don't want to run away from your business and have it just chasing you like a cloud, right? So let's talk about operations. It is a lot about juggling plates. So operations are the backbone of your business. No one sees them, but operations is the interrelation of the elements within your business. It's the structure that allows you to juggle all the other elements of your business from soup to nuts. The new business development, the production, the product development, the client relations, the financial stability, everything. And operations really starts with efficiency. So understanding your operations, the functioning or dysfunction in the building blocks of your business, you can streamline and possibly even automate or delegate some of the items. You can focus on others. So you can focus on other elements of your business. So you can't focus on everything equally all at the same time. Efficiency gives you the space to focus on the things that either you've been avoiding or the things that you really like. You could think about it either way. So how many of you feel like you're generally efficient? And what's your biggest time suck in your work practice? You can drop that in the chat, or you could unmute yourself and say it.
I would definitely say juggling all the things that I have to do.
Is the biggest time suck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balancing personal business and client business. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that balance, the chasing staff and catching up. Yeah, emails, writing proposals. So there's that administrative stuff that builds your business, but it doesn't necessarily allow you to do your business. Exactly. So operations is really not this. Multitasking is a lie. It doesn't work. But in operations, we want to move from this on the left to this on the right, right? With your business hat on, understanding your operations allows you to unravel the crazy and plot it out so you can attend to it clearly. And in that clarity, you can see results and problems that you weren't aware of. So this is what operations is. As creatives, and I actually checked with Nancy, so I think the majority of you are in the creative fields. Is there anyone who's not? I apologize to you by making this assumption if you're here, but even if you are here, you still have a creative work in your business. So as creatives, you want to take your operations on like a client and make them happy with a clear deliverable, right? It's the design and management of the behind the scenes work of your work. So how do we start? How do we start to understand our operations? We do this by laying it all out. The mind-hand connection lets you release the stress of holding it all together with a Vulcan mind meld, right? You do not want to keep it in your brain. You want to write it out, and I prefer to write things out on Post-it notes so that when I'm doing sort of a planning session, I can move things around. Otherwise, there's lots of scribbles. I try and do with different colors, and it gets really messy. So with Post-it notes, I can move things around, and I really encourage you to sort of take on that process. But so talking about operations, I like to say that the main pillars within which most businesses can be analyzed for your operational efficiencies are resources, finances, marketing, and production. So what this means is there are elements of your business that build, and in each bucket of resources, finances, production, and marketing, you can place all of these different elements. So when you're talking about money, it goes into finances, and the process of your AR, your AP, you know, your human resources and your production resources also feed into money, but they also can be looked at as a resource bucket. So when you start to think about the different tasks that you have, you can think about them as elements, building blocks of your business, right? So one thing is to say that running your business blindly never works. You need to think about where you've been and where you're going. So what we're going to do today is to get ready for 2021, think about this individually. So Nancy, if I could ask you to drop that link in the chat. I made up a Google Doc, and if you could all access it and then download it, so don't start typing in it because everyone needs to use it, but download a copy of it. And what it is a very brief, obviously we've just met and we're just talking about operations, but in order to look at what's going on for 2021, we want to think about where we've been and where we're going. So why don't you just pop in to the chat if you've had a chance to download that. I'll give everyone a second to access it. Hopefully you can.
When you're in Google Docs, everyone, if you go to File, Make a Copy, you don't have to actually copy everything in there. It will make the copy for you. Is everybody all set with that? We seem to be set.
Okay, good. So what we want to look at for a preparation and thinking about our operations for 2021 is we want to look at both our failures and our wins for 2020. So 2020 was maybe a productive year, like Emilka said. Maybe it was an up and down year. Maybe it was just a crazy year in all fronts. But take a minute as I talk to think briefly, and you can obviously do this at a later time also. But take a minute to think about 3 wins and 3 huge fails, or 3 challenges if you don't like to think about failure. I find that you really can find a lot of growth in failure, so I don't think failure is a bad thing. So I'm coming from failures from a positive place, and I want to challenge you all to do that. But think about 3 and 3. So take a minute to do that. And then as you still keep thinking about that, the next things underneath that are to think about goals for growth. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the two main types of growth in business, which are both financial and leadership. So financial can be profitability or sales processes. You can think about these goals as single words, but within financial growth, you can think about more of what you sell already to your existing market, what you already sell to a new market, something new being provided to your existing market, or something new to a new market. So financial growth comes from, even if you're in a service industry, it's still your palette of offerings can be something new. You can add something, you can change something. You can also have growth by asking for higher prices or controlling costs. You can manage production advances that enable doing more with less, and optimizing internal efficiencies. So what that means for financial growth is, you have to think about your product, and that comes from the initial point of your business, right? The leadership growth to think about for 2021 is that you're proactive already. You're here. You're interested in making a difference in the way your company's running. You lead the charge. You act and are seen as acting effectively and directing the activities of others for the good of your business. So part of looking for your growth in leadership is to recognize your skill gaps and look for ways to bridge these gaps and continually self-improve. So it might be in understanding you have a skill gap and figuring out a way to delegate for that gap. It might be professional development. But to think and act as a leader and as an owner of a company, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a business person, you want to continually strive to successfully combine personal traits with your ever-evolving learned skills, right? So there's a lot in this slide. It's kind of jumping into it before we go into the details of operations. But I wanted to talk about this because I wanted you to know and sort of have in the back of your mind the kernel of a thought about where you want to go in 2021, because your operations, like I said, are the building blocks to get you there. So when you have these goals, basically you can back out the details of your operations, looking at your different pillars. So let me go to my next slide. Another thing to sort of jump through is that when you have this inspiration sorted out, and it's going to take you longer than just this conversation, but I want you all to think about your planning in the framework of SMART goals. Is anyone familiar with SMART goals, or anyone not familiar? They seem like old hat. You use them all the time.
I'm not familiar with them.
You're not familiar with them? Well, Nancy, you're in for a treat. Thank you for letting me know that. So SMART goals, it's a great, I think it's an acronym, right? But you have goals, and for each specific item, you want it to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So basically you can Google SMART goal worksheets, but it's a way to really break down a goal so that it's not abstract. It forces you to be so specific that you could achieve it. Because when you say, I want to be more productive next year, well, what does that mean, right? How do you really define that? I want to improve that operation in my business. So you have to define what productivity looks like for you. You have to say, is it productivity in my manufacturing? Is it productivity in my administrative process? Is it productivity in my proposal funnel? And then you say, well, what's measurable? How successful is it? I want to have a 10% increase in my proposals. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. Oh, I don't know where my mute went. But is it achievable? So is it within your power to accomplish it, or do you need your team, or do you need other assistance? And what does that assistance look like? Who are you going to ask to support you in that? And is it realistic? I want to make, hit the $2.5 million revenue mark by February. Is that realistic for you? I don't know. And is it timely? Well, I can hit that mark by next December, but I can't hit it by February. So when you look at your goals that you just put down, the next thing to think about when you step away and get inspired by this workshop is to really think about your goals smartly, right? And then this also gives you an opportunity to communicate. Operations is a lot about communication within your organization. Even if you're a solopreneur, what that means is taking time aside to really monitor what you're doing and think about it, as opposed to just blindly pushing forward continuously. So what I had just said, my slides are out of order, was the top 3 wins and top 3 failures with this awesome, like, can we count them all? So talking about how to monitor your SMART goals, we want to talk about data. And data is a real building block of operations, because you need to be able to understand what you're looking at, right? Data collection is a great way to understand and monitor the different parts of your business. And the high quality data is important for everyone. It's where your money's going. It's where your time is being spent. It's, how many leads you have, how many successful jobs you've closed, all of it, how long it takes you to get through a phase of a job. All that information, when you gather it and look at it holistically, helps with your operations, because then you can see those gaps. You can see where there's a shortfall. You can see where there's an extension that doesn't make sense to you. But if you don't track your data at a sufficient level of detail, giving you the quality information you need, you won't have information to build on. You need to have the data to make those smart decisions, right? Data-driven facts are also conversation openers between you and your employees, your vendors, your collaborators. You can ask about cost savings. You can understand advancements in production and technology, and become better informed about your business. Because ultimately, operations is, like I said, your best client. And when you really take care of that client, you know that client really well, and you know when that client's struggling, and you can step in. So you might feel a little bit like this. You can take control of your operations and administration and not be bogged down, but move beyond and start off the new year on the right foot. Okay? So let's talk about optimizing. First, there's your physical office, lighting, ergonomics, seating, posture. Have a filing day every quarter with your, as I sit up straight, how often do you get up? Where do you sit? Do you feel your office is as well designed and implemented as the project you're most proud of? What can you do to improve it? So the operational efficiencies that you have within your business start with your comfort level, right? So if you have a desk that is just a kitchen table, Maybe you want to think about, is there a possibility to restructure, improve your lighting? You know, nobody wants to get carpal tunnel syndrome. So how often do you guys get up? Do you stretch? Do you eat lunch at your desk? Make it a little, pop it in the chat. Sadly, yes. Yes. Emerald, that is smart to have a reminder to get up every hour. An alarm, yep. Run up and down the stairs, very industrious. Getting an afternoon walk, yep. So maybe there's a way to, switch to a standing desk, get up hourly, take a walk. These parts of your operation are part of that mind-body connection, right? You want to be able to be there for your clients, and in order to be there, you need to be there for yourself. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? And then you want to optimize your virtual office. So this is where it gets down into a little bit of the nitty-gritty, but you really want to revisit the features of each app and each software that you have. See if there are paid apps, there are things that you pay for that you're not using to your full potential. You want to streamline by maximizing the use of your existing apps without having to try and integrate a variety of apps together. But when you do have to work together, you want to make sure they're integrated to save steps. So what apps have you started to use in the past 6 months that now you can't live without? And what's the most annoying app you feel like you have to use? You could actually just start talking. You can unmute yourself if you have something to say.
Facebook is the most annoying app that I have to use.
I could agree with that.
I thought you were doing away with it, Nancy.
I am.
I upgraded to Calendly this year, where it sets the meetings for you instead of the free one where you actually have to go in and set up a Zoom code or something. Like it does it all at once, and it's amazing. I'm so glad I switched.
That's a great one. I use that also.
Bonsai. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Bonsai?
Yeah, Bonsai for contracts and proposals and invoices and accounting, everything all in one.
Great. And DocuSign. Yep. I use DocuSign for so much, and it actually really helps with filing. Any other really annoying apps?
I hate WhatsApp. Like, I feel like, why can't we just text through regular texting?
I actually hate when clients text me.
Okay.
But I don't mind, like, when people in the Creatives Roundtable will text me, like Yamilka texts me all the time. I like that. But clients, it's like you're crossing the boundary.
Yeah. And Slack is the devil. It is so hard to keep track of things in Slack. And there are some people who use it just as like a running chain. And it's like, but now you're asking me to do something and there's no like track, there's no accountability there. It's a real challenge for sure.
Oh, we have our Slack group. It's going very well.
Okay.
I'm in 10 Slack groups. And when I have a new client, I set up a Slack channel for them.
Oh, that's smart. All right. Well, there you go. So another thing about operations is managing your expectations, right? When you're a founder, an entrepreneur, a leader, a doer, you're successful because of you, right? But as your business grows, you need to understand that a one-person show is not the way to grow. You need to let go of certain aspects of your business so that others can take those on and focus on them while you focus on what you do best. So this also helps you personally and professionally. When you understand what you're good at and let others do what they excel at, your organization becomes stronger. So operations is not only the interrelation of your business's different departments, but also their functioning. And these relationships are not automatic. They may be mechanically programmed, but more likely they're human driven, and humans must communicate. So as a leader, you need to communicate not only with the vision of your company that will inspire your team, but you also need to instill values in communication so that problems can be resolved early on as molehills, not mountains. The communication, so it's interesting that when we talk about our apps that are the most frustrating and the most helpful, on a certain level, you know, they're all communication driven. Slack, DocuSign is about signing items. Facebook is meant to be this community-driven communication situation. But how does that, you know, play in to your business? It's about reconnecting. So when you're communicating and you're restarting for 2021, you should think about how to reconnect and expand your network on a certain level, because right now we've gotten smaller physically, right? We're not meeting in personal networking groups. We are meeting in amazing things like Creative Roundtable, but who have you not reached out to that when you think about your goals for 2021, people that can help you? So maybe they're old colleagues, former employees, former employers. These connections can help you solve the challenges you've identified. You'll have someone to collaborate with that you already trust, or maybe there's someone who needs to be reminded of the services and products you provide. So starting to look forward to 2021, we want to think about reconnecting, right? And then we also want to think about new networks. So your circle of friends expands beyond your immediate circle, right? Your college alumni associations give you a connection just by one fact. Professional associations, your family all have people that you can reach out to. There may be a new digital resource for connections that you've found out about in the past 6 months. So right here, I have obviously Fly Female Founders, which many of you know, Meeting Machine, which is a really fun app that you can access through LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become the Facebook of business. And Eventbrite has so many different networking opportunities as well. And networks provide support for your operation. They can give you resources, accountability, inspiration, education, all things that keep you motivated to grow your own individual development as well as your company's trajectory. So one of the challenges that I was facing in making this talk today is, you know, operations is a really strategic part of your business, but your business has to exist in the world. And I know Nancy I waited for the last possible talk to give. And then I realized that it was right after the election. And I felt like I didn't know where everyone would be in their business and where they would be in their mind space if they wanted to talk about operations and how that looked for 2021. So I think that when I want to frame it for all of you, that it's the details of your business, but it's also all the interconnected parts that go along with your business, the people coming in, the message you're sending out, that's all part of your operations. So what I do in my consulting firm is to deal with the challenges, concerns, and goals for efficiency. And I help small businesses like you with workflows. So I'm happy to talk to any of you or anyone if you think I might help them and be of service, and how we can help you bring your business forward. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to open this up to a conversation about operations now that I gave you a little bit of a framework and a little bit of inspiration. So we could turn off this screen, Nancy, and then just have a chat if everyone's okay with that.
That's great, and I'll be forwarding your contact information to everyone with all the LinkedIn links and everything. So
Okay.
yeah, if you
So
want to
let's
share it.
let's start this conversation off with talking about, your top, if everyone wants to just sort of, if you're comfortable sharing one of your goals for next year, and we can start to talk about that.
Do you want to stop sharing your screen and then everyone
Yeah.
pop up?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me pop over here. All right. There we go.
Still seeing it.
You are?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My mouse is not trading across. There we go. Stop share.
Great.
Here we are.
Okay. So what did you want people to share again?
I would love for people to share one of their top goals for next year.
And if you don't share, I'm going to call on you. You know that, don't you? Go ahead, Yamilka. You're looking right at me.
Oh geez. One of my goals for next year. It's kind of a big goal, so I don't want to put it out there because I don't know. But maybe do my, like, not just focus on storyboards, but also maybe creating our own film or branding or video for people who, maybe for specific brands that want like a one-stop shop. You're coming here for storyboards or script writing, storyboards, and then I have a photographer slash cinematographer, and I think with some editing skills that Joe has, I think we can really pull it off. So I don't know. That's a big goal.
So that's good. So you're looking to like expand your services, right?
Yeah, maybe
So
pull it off if we can get a client or two. I don't know.
right.
I'm dreaming, right? Like,
right. But dreams are important. But so then when you turn that back to your operations, you have to think about, okay, so I have this goal. I'm going to break it down into parts. So how do I track, like, how do I resource it, right? So you have the resources, then you have the production of it. You have to figure out the timing of the different parts in terms of the value of them and how you're going to price them. You got to talk about your marketing in terms of how you're going to communicate this new offering. And then you want to also, have the follow through. So is there a step? So that's a really big goal. It's like you're dreaming, but is there a way that
I don't want to do it anymore?
But is there a way to like start small and step forward with it? So it's like, so you're working with a cinematographer. So is there a way to like work with that person more frequently and, figure out that collaboration? So maybe like backing up from there, you want to start with, what's your working agreement with that person? Do you have a revenue sharing? If they bring in a client, they get X and you get Y. So there, when you take a goal like that, a big goal, and you sort of break it down into all the little parts, one of the other things that I was going to suggest is mind maps. Have you ever done that before? Anyone? Yes, no. So some have. So what it is imagine a piece of paper and you have your idea in the middle. So you have films, and then you make a line with a circle to like cinematographer. And then from all the things of the cinematographer, you link to that. And then you put a line with a little circle and you say like Joe, and you put all the things that Joe brings to it. And so you basically blow it out into this micro detail all on one little piece of paper. And then you can sort of see, one of the fun things to do is to then get colorful and take, let's say, a green highlighter, and anything that has to do with money, circle with green, or fill in with green, and anything that's not related to the business, you make orange. So then you start to see different colors. And let's say there's no green on there.
That's a problem.
You have a problem because there's no money in this like vision. So then it's like, well, how could you add money in? So operations is all those different parts of your business that are the little details that make the big goals happen. And there's the administrative efficiencies, like, are you filing? Are you filing digitally? Are you filing on paper? How are you keeping track of your proposals? How many of you actually use like a proposal software? Just to understand. A few, which is good. So for everyone else, because I'm just going to sort of speak to them because they're the majority, I commend you, Nancy and Emma. Excellent. But for those of you that don't, like, how do you keep track of the money coming in when you bill? And that doesn't have to be answered with a software, but that's a great place to start operationally when you're looking at the new year. Like, just revisit, have I billed everyone for this year? How much time have I spent on these projects? Are these clients I want to keep? When you just sort of that review for 2021, especially under the lens of your goals and your inspiration, are going to help you. Because sometimes you're going to make a decision. This is not really a client that I want to keep, but they're my highest paying client. So there are all these challenges. Does anyone else have a goal we can talk about? I see you're about to say something, Nancy. You're thinking?
No, I was going to say I was really thrilled and disappointed when my longest term, highest paying client wanted someone in-house, and I said no thank you. And after 10 years, I no longer had a client that I did work for every single month for 10 years. But I hated working for them, but they paid me a lot of money. So it was a good way to just break up. But I also loved what you said about the mind mapping, because I think that one of the exercises that we did a couple of years ago is said you get a piece of paper and you write down your your 3 favorite clients, and then you write down your top earning clients, and then you write down your clients that bother you the most, and see if any of them overlap and what you can do about that. But mind mapping any project, I think, is a great idea.
Definitely. And then, I think that if you start with the mind map of your business, that also can explain to you if you don't really know what operations are. It's like operations are what make your business run. So you think about all the different elements of your business. So what goes into new business development? What goes into your administration? What goes into your production of your services or your products? What are those things? When I was talking to a friend a long time ago, I remember it's like, I feel like all I do is write emails. And she's like, that's what work is, which is not the case for designers and people that produce things. But when you're in a service industry like consulting, it's communicating, and it's, writing proposals and writing, documents, but there's just this continual flow of communication. And that's a big part of work, and that's a big part of your operations. So when you think about how those different elements communicate with each other, that's another way to think about operations. So who else is up for another goal for 2021 that we can talk about? We have a few more minutes. Or does anyone have any questions about what I've said? If you don't want to be tortured like Emerald
I think Emerald just unmuted, so you must have
okay.
something.
Yeah, I have both actually. So I'll start with my question. For questions, for operations, is like, when is it okay, or is it a good idea to outsource operations to someone else?
So operations is the backbone of your business. So I think that it depends what you're defining as operations as to whether outsourcing is a good idea. I think that when you have to imagine that someone is working very closely with you to outsource the operations. So I don't, it depends. Like there are systems that can manage your HR, like all your 1099s and pay your employees. There are systems that can do AP and AR. You can hire people to do new business. You can hire accountants to do your finances. So there's a wide variety of things that go into operations. For you, what are you thinking of, Emerald?
Well, I was just thinking, so I run a virtual assistant firm. So I'm great at putting operations and systems in place for my clients, but it takes most of my energy. And so I have an idea of what I need to do. I just need someone to actually execute it, to make sure that things, like you said, that contracts are being put in the right Google Drive folder and those types of things. So I was just curious if there's like a business size when your business gets to a certain size, or a certain revenue, or if it's just something that you should always have your finger on, as far as like when it's time to call in help.
I think it's time to call in help when you're ready to call in help. So you have to have a good enough grasp on your finances to know the cost benefit of delegating those tasks to others, but you always have to have your finger on it, because that's your business. So you want to understand, and that's talking about communication and having data. Where are the check-in points where you can monitor what they're doing without being a micromanager? Understand that there's an element of trust, and you trust that trust, and then also be able to figure out the elements that are appropriate to delegate within your service. So it really depends. I'm a small business and I have an accountant. Some people do their own accounting. Some people do their own bills. Some people use bills.com. Some people do it depends on the scale of your business and the details that really define when it's best to get help. But certainly if you have the capacity and the interest in getting help, once you figure out specifically what you need help with and how you're going to monitor it, then try it. There's no harm, no foul.
Right. Okay.
I would also add that you figure out how much time something's costing you. And let's say you bill $50 an hour, and it takes you, and you bill all your clients on Fridays. I only say that because I bill all my clients on Fridays. And so you have to figure out, will it take me an hour to bill all my clients? And is it worth it for me to pay someone $50 an hour so that I could get paid? I mean, I have someone do the billing for me, because if I just email them all week long and when I'm done with jobs, I know that on Fridays bills will go out. And as opposed to me saying I've got to make the time to do the billing. It's just an important thing. And like Jess, I have somebody that does my books for me because I went to art school, not to math school. So
bookkeepers are less money usually than graphic designers. So I find that was what my accountant told me too, Nancy. Like, do the math, and if you can find somebody that costs you less than the time it takes you to do it, then it's worth doing it. Because
exactly.
I would waste a couple of days a month doing bookkeeping, but now I only spend $50 a month on a bookkeeper, so it was worth paying for that. So I find that I'm more data driven when it comes to those decisions, because I think I can just do it all myself. But if I look at the math, I'm like, oh, I'm literally wasting my time and money, then it's a good way to make that decision.
And no, that's perfect. The proposal software is another place where, like, I personally use this software. I hate it. I've been looking for a new one for a while, but I don't look that hard. But but I have everything in there. Whereas like Christine does her proposals and they look beautiful. You do them in like InDesign, right? And so she also saves time because she can reuse things that she's done before. So it really matters, you know, what works for you to make the most efficient use of your time, because these are all busy work as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then for my goal for next year is actually born out of one of my failures, which was just depending on referrals to grow my business. And so my goal for next year is to really build out like a marketing and sales process for my company.
That makes sense. So that feeds directly into sort of that networking. I know that you know, having that marketing planning is really valuable. And then you look at that operationally, well, what does it take to get that marketing set up? You know, what's the state of your website, assuming you have one? If you don't have one, what's the cost benefit of creating one? What other social channels are you on? Where, you know, what's your messaging going to be? And when you think about these concepts, then you have to, the operations is how are you going to do them, right? So it's like, how do you, once you figure out your messaging, how do you blow it out to all your social channels? How do you pace that? Is there something that can be automated, you know, in your messaging when you're using a social media, you know, platform? Or is it something that's helping you that you can, you know, if you have digital, you work with administrative assistants, like digital assistants, is that right, Emerald?
Yeah, virtual assistants really.
Virtual
so it's like
assistants.
doing executive assisting just
Right.
remotely.
So it's like, is there someone that you have that you source out as a virtual assistant that also has skills that can help you, and you have, you know, that cost benefit analysis of having someone help you with that? You give them a social media calendar and they do your social media for you for 6 months, you know? So there's always talking about when is it time to delegate it, you know, to a certain point, as the solopreneur, as the entrepreneur, as the head honcho, you need to have that messaging. They can maybe help you with that messaging, but you're driving the ship. But you want the support and like the people rowing who are like, you're like, forward, and they're like, yeah, we're going. And it could just be one person who's rowing with you, or it could be, you know, a whole like galley of people, depending upon the scale of your business. But I think that, you know, the other thing to think about is how to leverage your referrals, your existing clients, tell them about your interest in expanding. You have expanded your, you know, roster of assistants. You're available, you know, as everyone's now at home and they, you know, business is changing, right? So it's not like you're going to have an admin assistant in your house when you have, you know, your office downtown and nobody's in it. It's that, you know, things are changing so rapidly, and when will they go back to normal, and what does normal look like? Air quotes. And what, you know, why are you different? You know, all of those marketing, the propositions, how do you get those out there? That's the operations. So you got to think about that functioning.
And I love your last name, so you have to use something like, we're here to help you weather the storm.
Yeah.
Like
oh my gosh, that's great. I love that.
Exactly. So we're just about out of time. I have to say that it's been a real pleasure to talk to all of you, and I hope that you found this a wee bit helpful and inspirational as you head ever so rapidly into the storm of 2021. Hopefully there's a calm in the eye of the storm. Now I'm in like some storm of my own. Emerald, I can't stop.
storm mind map, yeah.
Yeah. Any last questions, or, you know, you're always welcome to reach out to me. It's a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you, Kara. I really appreciate you coming. And Nancy, thank you also for including me. This has been such a pleasure. I really, really have enjoyed meeting everyone and having this conversation.
Thanks so much, Jess. I appreciate it.
All right. I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.
Thanks, Nancy.